Welcome to How to Celebrate Neurodiversity. I'm ready for festival. Ladies unite. So here we go. Let's find out more about neurodiversity and how we can celebrate all of the neurodiverse people around us and how amazing we all are as humans. So I'm going to shrink myself a little bit to the side and let's find out more. So first of all, hi, I'm Katie. I am a mum and also a freelance tutor, as you can see here. This is some of the things I've been up to this year. I spent time in lockdown telling stories online, and I've now got lots of different neurodiverse and neurotypical students who I love, and I love doing this. I used to be a teacher for 10 years, and now I decided to tutor all sorts of children one-to-one, and it's amazing. I'm also discovering a new talent, which I didn't really know I had until very recently, but I decided to write a book this year called The Girl Who Always Could, and it's being illustrated by this amazing teenager, Tilly Patterson, who has ADHD as well, and agreed to illustrate this book for me because she's so amazing and talented and brave to be doing this. So I'm just in awe of that. If you want to find out more about this book, you can follow this Instagram handle at the top, The Girl Who Always Could _book. My dream for this book is that it will be for all people who might identify as a girl, whether they have ADHD or not, and just people who want to understand different experiences of ADHD. And I want everybody to be able to get a chance to read it and understand more about what different experiences are of ADHD. So that's my dream. And just before I talk more about all sorts of neurodiversity, I'll tell you a little bit about ADHD itself, if in case you didn't know already. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And you can see at the top there, these are the three main things that make up ADHD: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity, according to everybody else, because that's what everybody sees on the outside. But as you can see here, ADHD is like a great big iceberg, really. And so a lot of what makes ADHD for people who are experiencing it is all the things that are underneath that people don't see. So there are so many different things there. Things like struggling with memory or emotions and sleep, knowing about how time passes. I have a timer here to make sure I watch my time, and so many things that make up life with ADHD. So it's so much more than just the lack of attention, which really isn't a deficit of attention at all. We have attention that we can't always regulate, that's all. So we can give a lot of attention to things that we are really interested in. I wasn't found to have ADHD until I was an adult, so I thought I'll share with you a little bit, because actually when I was your age, I didn't know I had ADHD, and that actually made things really confusing. I probably fitted into quite a few of these. Quite easily distracted, a bit of a daydreamer, and sometimes I might be not very withdrawn, but I was often quite shy, really forgetful at times. I remember losing keys and things that caused big problems sometimes, and hyper talkative. I'm still hyper talkative, I'm sure. Really chatty and lots to say, and unable to stop at times, and really big emotions. Sometimes I kept to myself. So ADHD in girls is a little bit different as well. You can see it's not all about bouncing around and being really busy and hyperactive, which is what is often a stereotype of ADHD. So today we're talking all about all sorts of different brains, and not just ADHD brains. So we want to understand more about ADHD, neurodiversity in general. So here we have some ideas of neurodiverse brains. Maybe you have heard of the word diversity itself already. So it's perhaps this kind of image of all sorts of different people looking different, acting differently, moving differently, and all sorts of things that make humans different is what we talk about as diversity. You can see some girls in the spirit of the Festival of the Girl, some diversity amongst girls, celebrating them together. And in lots of ways, this kind of diversity is so normal to us. And we may be really used to seeing all sorts of different diverse people all around us. There are so many different ways that people are diverse, and there's some there you can see, all sorts of different ways. But one way that is quite new, perhaps, and this obviously wasn't even on that diagram actually, is one called neurodiversity. It's a new kind of diversity only because people are only starting to consider it, and includes different types of brains and different ways of thinking. And this is one way that it was decided to start to talk about things like autism in particular at the beginning, in a more positive way, because it used to be just seen only as an illness that needed to be cured, a problem, and a sad thing, and that's not the case, we know now. And so neurodiversity is an amazing way to describe these differences in a positive way, even though there are lots of challenges involved in having a neurodiverse brain. We are starting to understand how these differences can really have an amazing impact on the world around us. So here are some of the different disorders and conditions that are associated with neurodiversity. So we have ADHD, autism or ASD, Asperger's over here, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and there are others that will fit into this as well, like Tourette syndrome and all sorts of different ways that brains work differently. But these are some of the main ones that are considered to be neurodiverse. Groups of brains. So we have what might be called typical brains that don't have these particular differences, which is most of people, and then groups of people who have these differences in their brains. And because having a difference sometimes can cause a problem, these things have been considered to be a disorder or a problem or an illness even that needs to be changed. But actually, these things have existed for a long time and haven't gone away. And so people are starting to understand that perhaps these things are meant to be part of our diversity as people. So Harvey Bloom said this: neurodiversity may be every bit as crucial for the human race as biodiversity is for life in general. Who can say what form of wiring will prove best at any given moment? So how do we know that these differences in brains aren't meant to be part of the way that the world works? And if we embrace them more, we can use these talents that come from differences in brains and harness those, just like having a super fast cheetah or a super strong elephant in the animal kingdom, and using those skills and strengths. We have different skills and strengths as people. Perhaps we can use these in better ways and not view them in a negative way. So that's what's being accepted more and more, and that's what neurodiversity is all about. So I have ADHD, and for me, I find it makes me super creative and full of ideas, however impractical they might be. I'm really passionate, maybe you can tell, and enthusiastic, but also super compassionate and empathetic to others, and even super focused at times. You can see here with lots of people with ADHD are hyper focused, which is kind of the superpower of ADHD, when you harness it in the right way. And when we're really interested in something, we can do it for really amazing long amounts of time, and do things like that that are even better than most people in some ways. Lots of people with ADHD have certain talents like this that are amazing compared to even anybody's brain. So it doesn't sound like it's necessarily always a problem, right? So all of these different things that can make up an amazing ADHD brain. So solving problems and being super productive and never boring, no. And being resourceful and curious and creative and thinking outside of the box, all of these things. Autism has so many amazing positives. Look at these. So you may be able to focus really intently, think about unique ideas and be super creative. Autistic brains are often super amazing at finding facts and detective work and retaining things in their brains and long-term memory. It's not a great ADHD talent often, but people who are autistic can do these things often amazingly well, and are often really honest and loyal and committed. Look at all these things that would be amazing thing for an employer to use to help them. So companies like Google and Microsoft and Apple actually now employ people who are neurodiverse like us to come and work for them, because they've realized how amazing these talents are, and if they're harnessed in the right way, what these neurodiverse people are an amazing asset to that company. And dyspraxia has lots of similarities, you can see here, perhaps to ADHD as well. So great sense of humor, hardworking, motivation, unique thinkers outside of the box, being creative, and super determined, empathetic. Loads of amazing positives. Dyslexic brains are really amazing at thinking about things visually, which is what is seen as a problem because it can make certain things seem harder, but really when we harness this and help in the right way, a dyslexic brain can do things in more amazing ways than a typical brain. So there's so many different things there, I can't even list them, but considering how many people are dyslexic, it's amazing that we should find out more about what dyslexic brains can do. So neurodiversity is something that we really need in our communities, in our classrooms, in our whole country. 1 in 5 of people are neurodiverse, and 1 in 67 are on the autism spectrum. 1 in 20 have ADHD like me. 1 in 10 have dyspraxia or dyslexia. So it's not a small amount of people. And these neurodiverse individuals, it says, are hiding in plain sight. We are invisible because we don't fit the stereotype of how the world expects people to be. But perhaps we can change that. We are the scientists, entrepreneurs, computer programmers, physicists, MPs, engineers, accountants, lecturers, creators, innovators, inventors. So many amazing things. And neurodiverse brains are behind so many amazing things around us. You can see there's a National Neurodiversity Week every year in May. So perhaps that's something we might keep in mind as we move on to how can you celebrate neurodiversity, neurodiverse or not? What can you do to make the world a better place for people who are neurodiverse? The first one is to speak out about neurodiversity and what you know. Speak out for people who are neurodiverse and how they experience the world. If you see somebody misunderstanding or even being judgmental, can you speak out and share what you know? You might be able to help your school to celebrate neurodiversity in some way, whether you join with Neurodiversity Week each year or you get your school to do something really proactive to support neurodiversity in your whole school. There are loads of amazing ways to do this. The last slide about ADHD Foundation is an amazing place to find out about things like that. And speak out, help, support. Number 2, raise each other up. This starts with you, because first we rise by lifting others, but we need to raise ourselves in the process. So my final challenge today is going to be something that can raise you, first of all, but can you raise people up that are neurodiverse and support them, the people around you, in lots of different ways. Number 3, be an ally to people who are neurodiverse, which means standing by their side and understanding and listening and knowing what their experiences are, and recognizing that the world might not be designed for them in the way that it is for typical brains. So understanding that is often a really great step in being an amazing ally to people who are neurodiverse. Number 4 is to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and thinking before judging. So you may notice sometimes people who are neurodiverse are harder to spot than perhaps somebody you might see in a wheelchair or using a stick to walk, or to help them with their sight, and so on. So not all things that people might need support with look obvious on the outside. Many are invisible, and neurodiversity is something that fits into that as well. So if you see things happening at school that seem unfair because they're visible to you, stop and think whether there's something that you could find out more about, and make sure you treat those sorts of situations in the same way as if you were understanding somebody who was in a wheelchair or used glasses to help them to succeed. Sometimes neurodiverse people might need different things to make things more fair for them. Remember that everybody, number 5 says, remember that everybody is unique and each experience is different. So not everybody who has ADHD or autism or dyspraxia or dyslexia is the same as everybody in that group. Everybody is an individual and everybody experiences things really differently. So it's not fair to decide that everybody with ADHD, for example, has all of these things in common. Lots of those things are not the same. Just like everybody with a typical brain isn't the same either. So keep that in mind. I think that's a really important one. So speak out and find out more, raise each other up, be an ally, put yourself in others' shoes before judging, and avoid generalizing because everyone's experience is different. My final task for you today is to go away and create your own amazing brain vision board almost for you, but it's actually something that's a celebration of you and what you can do. So go on Google, find an image just like this one of a silhouette of a head, and inside fill it with a magazine cuttings of things that remind you of how amazing you are, the things that you can do. You might add your own pictures of family or friends in there as well, but anything in there that visually reminds you of how amazing you are. This is something that you can put on your wall and visually come back to whenever you might feel a sense of doubt creeping in or negative thoughts about yourself, that you can remember to come back to this. This is something that people who are neurodiverse often need to do a lot of the time because they can end up with lots of criticism from the outside world as well. So this sort of thing really helps us celebrate all of our brains. So if you do that, I'd love to see those in the comments underneath the video, or anything else you want to share with us, your experience is, or anything that you want to tell us or what you enjoyed about the video. If you want to find out more, remember to go back to the video and find anything that you wanted to look at more, including the link to the book. And I will say bye now. And don't forget, I support neurodiversity, and go out and celebrate it and enjoy the rest of the festival. Have fun, guys. Take care. Bye.